Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. A few days ago I did my video on writing for modern audiences, and I mentioned that being able to write shorter form stories is a plus. It's a real benefit in today's market and today's world of readers, or audiences, or whatever. And I did mention how I myself, as somebody, I specialized in the tale, writing the tale, when I was studying, and then also I've taught on it. This is something that I write a lot myself. And by tale, I mean a story of no more than about 10 pages, double-spaced. It can be a little longer, perhaps, but really not much longer than that. Very, very short, something that the modern reader and the modern attention span can sit down and read in one sitting, or listen to in one sitting. So I mentioned that I couldn't go too far into it in such a short video, and maybe I would do another video on it one day, and people were saying, yes, please do. You know, I got a lot of comments about that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's something, again, I've taught workshops on, and I've given like hour-long lectures on. And I thought, well, obviously, I can't do that on YouTube. So I thought, well, let me just kind of shrink it down and give it to, like the 15-minute treatment. But it cut off too many things to do any good, I think. It wasn't substantial enough to do anybody any good when I'm shrinking it down and taking that much out. So I decided instead we'll make a series of these. They'll still be short, no more than 15-minute videos, but I'll do maybe 3 of them. And still just kind of hit some of the high points. Obviously, still not going to be as much as I would given in a lecture or a workshop. So I'll start in this video talking about the 3 reasons why it's useful to write tales, even if you're not a short story writer. if the idea doesn't sound all that appealing to you, it's something you should practice and should be able to do. And I'll tell you those 3 reasons in a second. First, though, I want to mention that I will be providing links in the description below to where you can find some of the tales I'm going to use as an example, John Gardner, Neil Gaiman, and stuff like that, where you can find the full text of them online. And I'll also, link to some books if you're interested in buying, collections of them. My own tales, though, I will use one tale I did in particular. I'll link in the description, but there's a new website out. I don't know how new it is. I found out about it relatively recently, though. It's called Vocal Plus, I think. I've got a link in the description, and they're not sponsoring me or anything like that, but I just wanted to mention it because it's a really cool website, and I wanted more people to know about it and more writers to use it. It's kind of like a YouTube for writers. There's no video or audio aspect to it, though. You're posting your stories, and they people can come and see it. You can comment on it. They can subscribe to you and so forth. Now, there have been a lot of other sites like that, but this one is like YouTube in the sense that every writer is kind of monetized from the beginning. So you're publishing your work on this site, and you do get some residual when somebody clicks on your story to read it. So that's a little bit more of an incentive to post your stories. And as I say, writers need audiences. It's good to post your work and get it out there. The other incentive is they do some really great short story contests with some pretty substantial monetary awards. And these contests, they'll give you a prompt and they give you so many, days or whatever to complete it. And that's good for writers too, to be able to have a deadline to write to. So for my audience members that are writers, creatives, it's a great website. You can get to it by looking at the link in the description, which goes to my story that I'm going to use as an example in these videos. But that'll take you to the website where that story is posted, and you can click through the website there of your own accord at that point and explore it and just take a look. It may or may not be of use to you as a writer, but I do recommend people check it out at least. So, got all that out of the way. Now let's talk about 3 reasons why you should, if you're a writer, you should be writing a tale or know how to write tales. The first reason is that it will improve your craft. Even if you are a novel writer, that's all you want to be known as, is a novel writer. You don't want anybody reading some short thing you wrote or whatever. If you hone the craft and practice being able to write a shorter form story, it is going to help your writing of longer form fiction like novels. Because in doing a tale, one of the things we'll talk about in this series is you have to strip away all of the extra stuff. Now, extra stuff is good in something like a novel. You need that stuff. You need description and all that kind of stuff. But it really makes you focus on the most fundamental aspect of a story, which is the plot, things like pacing and tension and reader engagement, keeping that all the way through. It really hones your skills on that most basic fundamental importance of stories of fiction. So tale writing can really help you with that. It can help you hone your ability to write in scene. It can help you balance showing and telling. That's one of the things we'll talk about in the next video. So it's very much of use to any writer. So that's the first reason. It helps your skill, helps you hone the skill. The second reason, as I mentioned in the previous video, is that it can help you market your own novel. If you're a novelist, it can help you market it because, as I said, if you're writing little tales that set in the universe of your novel, that you can put that out there to people. The tales are, shorter stories, even if you're recording it and putting it out in videos or whatever, you can get people interested in the universe of your novel with these short little stories. And then by the time you're ready to put out your novel, that's a good marketing tool. But not only that, it also helps your novel writing in the ways that it can help you understand your characters better. A lot of novel writers, especially genre novel writers who are creating this universe, they'll talk about how they have files. A lot of my writing professors when I was in school would talk about just these files that they had. Many of you writers will know what I mean. This is the background of this character. Things that you're writing about just to flesh out the universe in your mind, things that aren't actually making it into your novel or into your story. But you need to flesh out this universe. It needs to be a real place in your mind with details. And these characters have to have real backstories in your mind so that you can write them as believable characters throughout whatever the specific plot of your novel is. Tales really help with that. If you want to know where your character's coming from in the backstory, try to write the tale of their upbringing. Try to write the tale of when they get kicked out of the academy or whatever, pertains to your story. Or try and write the tale of the fall of the kingdom or whatever, just try and write that short and craft it as though it is a tale because, it can be of use to you, as I said, if you put it out as sort of extra content, for your work. So writing tales can help your novel writing. It helps the craft, that first reason, but it also helps the actual novel itself. It helps you creating the novel. It helps the world of the novel. The last reason why I think all writers should be able to write tales is that even if you are a novel writer and you think, I'll never write tales, I'm not a short story person, blah, 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 you never know. Tales can lead to novels. They can lead to novels in the way that you end up with something called a novel in story, or a novel in stories. This is something that Sherwood Anderson kind of pioneered with his Winesburg, Ohio back in the day. And a lot of novelists do this. In fact, the book study that we just did last October, the Ray Bradbury study, From Dust Returned, that was a novel in stories. That was a compilation of short stories he wrote in the same universe. And when we read it together in the compiled novel, it does, as you read through them all, it does give you an overall arc of a story. But he was submitting and publishing those short stories separately here and there. So they did have their own little mini arcs as well. Not in the way that, a chapter should have a mini arc in terms of a novel. They were complete solid stories within themselves, but you could also read a longer arc, with certain ways they connect, So a novel in stories, don't rule that out, especially even if you want to be a novelist and you're struggling with keeping interest in your own idea for that long of a novel. Kind of how you want to flesh it out, but then you just get kind of lost. You're like, I don't know, I'm gonna write something else maybe. That happens a lot. If you let go of the idea that you need to stick to your one character, this entire novel, if you branch out a little bit, you start writing other tales and whatnot in that universe, you might find that what you end up with is more something like a novel in stories, as opposed to the story of this one character, and then that happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. Linear narrative with one character is fine, and it's wonderful when done well, but it can be a challenge for some writers. So don't rule out the idea of something like a novel in stories. Tales can inform the novel, and the example I'll give for this is that there's a great novel called The Things We Carried, and I'm blanking on the author's name. I'll put the picture up there, but he actually came and spoke to us, back when I was in an MFA program, and he uses the main character of the story is his own name. So some people mistakenly think it's a memoir, but it's actually a novel, fictionalized, and he talked to us about that. And it's about his time in Vietnam, and it's a big, he's a big deal. People were coming to even the citizens of the city were coming to hear him speak, at our school, because he was just a big deal. And especially to that boomer generation, having gone through Vietnam and whatnot. There's one, and the novel is about his experience in Vietnam and how harrowing it was, but he does segment it up into little tales of story, or a novel of stories. You know, the story of him thinking that he might dodge the draft, you know, at one point. That's a concise story, but it also fits in the linear narrative of him, you know, telling his story of how he eventually went there and the things that happened. But there's one chapter in particular that stands out, which is really, really phenomenal. And he's telling a story of a legend that his platoon had. You know, there was a story going around the troops over there, apparently. And it's very fictional. You know, it's outlandish, but it's a story, and it's kind of stuck around as a legend for the troops, and it's very profound. It's about somehow a soldier over there was able to get his girlfriend smuggled into the camp. That's outlandish. How would that even happen? But somehow this just happened. It's for the legend, for the story. And she's there with the, you know, and of course he's happy to have his girlfriend there. And the guys, even though they're not, you know, sleeping with her or anything like, you know, her boyfriend is, they're still happy to have that feminine energy, you know, that feminine there to, but she starts to really kind of take to the jungle. She sort of goes native, and she ends up siding or spending a lot of time with these Vietnamese soldiers that the Americans are there to help, and they've gone totally brutal. These are soldiers that even the American platoon there is a little leery of, because they're just really into it. And the next thing you know, she's cutting off the thumbs of her victims and making a necklace of them, and then she just sort of disappears and goes into the jungle. This little prim, proper American apple pie girl goes to the Vietnam and goes native like that into the jungle. And obviously it's a mythical, fictional story, but it's you got soldiers over there in Vietnam, and he's trying to tell the story of his experience of it. And this little tale right here is obviously about losing your innocence. You know, what better example or character in a story to lose their innocence than this young, you know, girl, a girlfriend of a soldier, young and wholesome, you know, as they describe her, going into the jungle, becoming this really brutal, you know, terrifying character or figure. That's the terror of any soldier. You know, am I going to lose my soul in fighting a war? You know, how much of my own innocence have I lost in doing this? You know, even if it's for noble reasons, wanting to go and fight for my country, you're still killing for your country. And, you know, no matter how noble or how much of a good thing that is, there's still an issues and things to have to overcome. So it's a great example of how that short little chapter is a solid tale. It is absolutely a tale in structure, beginning to end, but it informs the greater novel. It's kind of plugged into the middle of it there, and it just expands the whole novel. Then you go back to his experience and you continue to follow his experience. Really good stuff. So even if you're just a novel writer, don't discount tales. They can very well help your novels in the future. So I'll stop there. Just 3 reasons why every writer should be writing tales, or at least know how to do it, because it's going to help you hone the craft. It's going to help you flesh out the world of your novel and maybe even market it better. And you never know, the tale might be able to inform your novel. You might end up with a tale in your novel one day. You know, it can happen. So those are 3 reasons. This is only part 1 of my video on the art of the tale. I will have at least 2 more, and they'll come out interspersed, you know, in a little bit or whatever after I do some other videos or whatnot. I'll get them out there. And do remember, check out the links in the description below. I'm going to go ahead and put the 2 links to the other tales that I'm going to talk about, but the link to my tale that I'm going to use as well is there, and that is published on that website I told you about, Vocal Plus. So you click on that link, you can go to that story, you can read it. You can also check out the website in general. Again, they're not sponsoring me. I just think it's a really cool idea, and I'd like to see more people taking part in it. So if you're a writer, give it a chance, or give it a look-see anyway, and consider it. That's all for now. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love, and writing the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.